Are you ready for your first clap?
I'm excited for this. Are we ready? Are we doing this? Okay, ready?
Yeah.
You start. Ready? Here we go.
All right, three, two, one.
I had to bring the thunder on that one.
Oh
I don't have a sleeping baby behind me, so I had to bring the thunder on that one.
man, welcome on in. It's another edition of the Clap Your Hands podcast presented by Coors Light. Jack Fritz and James Jackson, usually producing the program, joins us tonight as Elliot. We'll get to the game. One of the biggest choke jobs in recent, like the Sixers are on the comeback of the century right now,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
Elliot is flying to London, so he's not with us, which
Is
means
he midair right now? Is he even on the ground? Is he midair?
he is definitely midair because he was texting me. I would
Hmm.
love to have seen his reactions as that game was kind of going down because I don't think he's texted me back since before the Maxey shot to send it to overtime. So
Right.
he's melting down. But either way, James Jackson's with us,
Yeah,
and
it's an honor.
I mean, just take it away a little bit here. Like how you kind of feeling? What a range of emotions that was tonight.
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, can we just acknowledge that earlier this series, Sixers teams in the past, the Sixers we know lose that game 9 times out of 10, right? And so the fact that they were able to pull it out in regulation, have a mini comeback in overtime, and then really make the plays down the stretch and stop the Knicks and Jalen Brunson from making the plays down the stretch to win that game. Like you can say what you want. There's been a lot of criticism of Embiid and how he looks and how he's been playing, how sluggish, quote unquote, he's been up and down the court. But I mean, you have to give just as much props as you want to give anybody to Joel Embiid about the effort he gave on the defensive end and everything else he was able to do. 9 turnovers is not great. Some of the
He
stocks
did almost have a
good.
quadruple double. He
I
almost
know
had a
that, which is
quadruple double.
impressive. Which is impressive, and obviously we'll get to what Maxey did later. But
Yeah,
you have to just for you want to talk about like grinding out a game and winning just a gritty, nasty game, an overtime game that still barely hit 110. I mean, it was crazy, and the Sixers won. You got to give them credit for that.
yeah. So there's a lot to get to, obviously tonight,
Go ahead.
and I think the main thing that hit me is they're probably going to lose the series. They're still alive. I said don't let them win Game 5. They won Game 5. They're alive, and that's great. Even if they lose, tonight to me was still a massive positive. Just a massive positive because I think there was we did a poll on the afternoon show today, and it was, which do you think is more likely? They get run out of the gym tonight or they win? 75% said run out of the gym.
Of course.
And to this team's credit, they played with heart. And I think that's what made Game 4 so annoying is when Josh Hart has 17 rebounds and you get out rebounded the way you do on your home court with a bunch of Knicks fans. It's like, bang, there's the same old heartless Sixers. And tonight wasn't that. Tonight was a gutsy, heartfelt performance. I'm not going where you are with Embiid because if he played any semblance
I will get to it.
of a good basketball game tonight, that's not even close. It's not even close. He was atrocious. He was atrocious.
I'm not ready to go there. If one, you have to clearly acknowledge the fact that he's on one leg. Like every time he tries to plant on that left leg, it nearly crumbles under him. So I think he's somewhat making a conscious decision. He's active on the defensive end if you watch him. Blocks, steals, deflections.
He was great in overtime.
I think it was for most of the game. And if you look at how active he is on the defensive end versus the shot selection and what he does on the offensive end, I think he's just choosing one side of the floor that he knows that he can really impact. Like if he goes all out, he's probably going to hurt himself. But I can choose to go all out on the defensive end. On the offensive end, it might have to be more finesse. It might have to be more of the perimeter to start the game. And then in the fourth quarter and overtime, you see him start to attack the basket, put more pressure on the defense. So that's why I go there, man. I got to give the big fella a lot of props.
Well, you know what makes his job a lot easier? Is finally having someone else step up. And
yeah, man.
Let's get to it.
Man.
Again, even if they lost tonight, I didn't have a feeling of like usual Sixers playoff losses where it's like this is hopeless, blow the whole team up. And I think it was because of Tyrese Maxey and his ability late, making those shots, making the end one, which, by the way, I thought was a long 2. And I was
clearly a 3 for everyone. Yeah, everyone thought it was a long 2. I did too.
Because their broadcast said long 2, and I was like, I don't know, man. That kind of looks like a 3. I thought the scoreboard was all screwed up. I was flustered for about 30 seconds there. I was like, hold on, are we close to this?
The end of that game made my brain scramble a little bit. The end of that game was just a roller coaster ride. It's absolutely crazy.
What a grown-up, and I mean grown-up performance from Tyrese Maxey. And listen, I like how happy he is. I like the smile. It's fine. But what we saw tonight was killer. And the emotion when he made that shot from the logo and just sticking it to the Knicks crowd. Like, Embiid's the best player. I get it. But, man, tonight was so big from the standpoint of, can Tyrese Maxey will the rest of the team? Because, my God, I mean, what a grown-up performance by the kid today.
I think all questions, have to be answered by that Tyrese Maxey performance. And the bar has now been set. Like, it was clear that Joel Embiid couldn't give 100%. And the 9 assists and really 9 turnovers tell you that Embiid was going to distribute the ball and give the ball up when he saw the double team whenever he did. 90% of those passes went to Tyrese Maxey, and the confidence that he played with, like you said, the adult nature, the matureness he played with, like he said, like, I will take this, this burden from you, Embiid. Like, I will take this game into my hands. I will go into the Garden. I will have what may be a coming out party to the rest of the NBA to show that he can truly be like the number 2 to a team that can make a deep run in the playoffs. Now, like it was everything from hitting threes, from attacking the basket. Like, he was able to even beat an adjustment from the Knicks where they were done helping off of pretty much any shooter. Like, it was clear that the Knicks were not threatened by a Tobias Harris in the corner or a Nico Batum on the wing. Like, anytime Tyrese Maxey drove, he was seeing 2 or 3 Knicks defenders in the lane, and that didn't stop him. It didn't make him get timid. It didn't make him get passive. Like, he kept putting that pressure on the defense, kept putting that pressure on the lane. It wore the Knicks down eventually, and then the young legs and the speed, kind of won out at the end. But it was just all around great, from Tyrese.
Well, I thought was so encouraging about Tyrese tonight is, I think we criticized him after game 2 of like, dude, you take the final shot. Like, don't pass it to Joel. Like, this is your moment. Like, you're cooking in the fourth. Just take over. And I know that Embiid is like your big brother, and that's great. But like, sometimes little brothers got to step up too.
Yeah, big brother.
And I thought tonight, like, there were some times where he didn't even look Embiid's way. And I think that's fine. Like, Embiid just didn't have it offensively tonight. Like, just didn't have it. Obviously, had no lift. He was making really just poor passes. Terrible. And like, there's a time period there where he was like, it was before the under 6 timeout when he eventually got him out. But before that, it was like, dude, they've got to spell him for like 30 seconds because I don't know if he's going to make it for the rest of the game. But Tyrese Maxey, like, coming out of halftime, I thought he set the tone immediately there of like, the first 4 minutes out of the third quarter or start of the third quarter, he was like, bang, no, I'm here. And I just, that makes me so happy. That makes me so like, okay, we are starting to see the evolution of a player go from all-star to like established star. And I think for people that didn't know Tyrese Maxey and around the league, like they think he's the most improved player. But tonight's like a cement yourself, and it's to do it in Madison Square Garden. Like, think about it this way, like he's had his 2 biggest performances of the playoffs on the road, and I think that
one in the Garden, like that makes that's important. Like the venue is very important of which he did it in.
Well,
sure.
we respect the Garden. Yep. I don't know if one member of this show respects the Garden.
He does not. He doesn't
respect the Garden. Doesn't respect the Palestra. Doesn't respect history.
Doesn't respect greatness. Yeah, doesn't respect tradition. That's what
it's pretty sad. The fact that he did it there again is awesome because it's just, again, even if they lose and they come up short, like, this Tyrese Maxey's first 5 games is really encouraging for the future of this basketball team.
We can get to the outlook on the rest of the series because I'm trying not to sip the Kool-Aid as a delusional Sixers fan of what this could mean even for the rest of the series. But just
shouldn't let them win tonight.
Don't let us get one. Don't let us get one. But what a real mature star does is takes the ebbs and flows of the game and like doesn't try to or doesn't get bogged down when one way of scoring isn't working or one way of play isn't working. Maxey comes out at the beginning of the game is hot, right? The Sixers take almost a double-digit lead going into the second quarter. And then that second quarter is dominated by the Knicks, dominated on the boards, dominated by pace. That second quarter, when the Knicks slowed it down, you could see it was frustrating for Maxey. That's when they started packing the paint. That's when, he had his least amount of field goal attempts, his least amount of points. He wasn't getting to the line. But like you just said, he came back out in that third quarter and like pedal to the metal. Like didn't come out in that third quarter passive, didn't come out in that third quarter wondering where he was going to get his shot, how he's going to get a shot. Like he made it happen. Like he turned that pace back up. I think there was a little help of Nick Nurse and the defensive strategy and how they changed. We can get to that later too. But for what Maxey did for even himself in this game, because it wasn't like he was first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, just all smooth sailing, hitting every shot. There were times in this game where the Knicks had Maxey kind of boxed in, had him figured out, and he was able to break out of that and he was able to get back going. That is the most encouraging sign kind of within this 40-plus point game that Maxey just had.
Dude, he played 51 minutes. He went for 46, 5 and 9, 7 of 12 from
7 to 12 from 3 is what should make. I know that's going to make your boy smile when he gets off the plane. 7 to 12 from 3 is that's just beautiful.
Well, and again, because tell me how you feel about this, because had they just lost, like had Maxey not made that miracle 3 before, like the miracle 3 and 1,
like what a shot, like
the 4-point shot, and then obviously the one to tie it up. I do think Embiid's getting crushed tomorrow. Like I think he's getting crushed. Like I think that Embiid here's what I'll give him credit is that I thought through the fourth quarter he just looked completely gassed and it was like turnover. It's like, dude, you're just killing him. He in overtime, I completely agree with you. Like I thought he was a difference maker in overtime, made some really strong defensive plays, and offensively made a pretty ridiculous and one to make it kind of put it out of reach a little bit. It's just, man, Tyrese Maxey did bail out Joel Embiid from, I think,
had to.
Oh my God, here we go again with Joel Embiid coming up small in an elimination.
Had to, but so here's where the narrative is a little ugly right now, because why is it looked at as Maxey bailed out Embiid and not Maxey picked up Embiid when he need to? Like Embiid's not. I'm going to stay on this hill that Embiid's not 100%. He's just not, and he's going against one of the most physical teams, if not the most physical team in the NBA, who when they smell blood in the water is going to do whatever they can to make it harder.
Don't get too Nova'd up over there.
This is more of a Thibodeau thing. This is more. Don't make me break out the Nova hat and really make you mad.
Yeah, we'll talk about your boy coming up here in a few minutes.
It's right there. But a team who is going to make it tough on Embiid physically. So that's
but how he came out though, it looked mopey. It looked slow. Like I agree with
you.
He
just
100%.
can't explode. But mopey guys don't drop a triple double. Mopey guys don't get you 20, 15, and 10 games in the play. They just don't. Like they just don't.
He also had 10 turnovers.
Because he's trying to pass out of it too much.
Good.
But he also has 2 or 3 blocks on the defensive end, multiple deflections, multiple steals. Like that's being active. So he's still trying. He just doesn't have it. So I look at it as Maxey stepped up, picked up Joel Embiid, not bailed him out, because Embiid still helped the team, man. He doesn't out rebound Mitch Robb and Hartenstein and Josh Hart and all of them. It looks a lot different. He doesn't have 10 assists. It looks a lot different. He's not playing 40-plus minutes himself, and it looks a lot different. So you got to give him credit, but Maxey definitely picked him up where he needed to. It was awesome.
I just wonder how it looks going forward, and obviously we're pulling them to win game 6 and 7. Obviously, it's just now you play. So they played Sunday. They played Tuesday. He just played a ton of minutes. They had to go to overtime.
Yeah, now you're gonna play Thursday.
I'm worried about how he comes up Thursday because he looked slow today. And listen, outside of Maxey having to put up 40 something, it's gonna be another like. I mean, I guess he's playing his way into shape. I think 40 some minutes a game will do that to you. I'm curious to see how he comes out in game 6, because I thought tonight, at least coming out, looked a little bit slow and obviously had the turnover issues and then had to play overtime. And again, to his credit, like I don't want to grapple over Joel Embiid because I thought the first in regulation was frustrating. He really did take his game to another level in overtime, and that does matter. Like that 100% matters because and maybe optimistic view is that lets him know you can go to another gear. Like you can dig deep, you can power through. You got it, man. You just got to put it together. Because the fact that in overtime he was as disruptive as he was, I just hope that lets him get over whatever hurdle he's kind of going through. It's crazy, man. Like, it's crazy to me. It's still the first round. Like, this has felt like...
Yeah, this feels... I mean, I don't know if Grant Hill was exaggerating, but he said it felt NBA Finals-esque. And when he said it, I was like, yeah, he might be, pumping up the garden a little bit. But the end of that game, just the energy of that, both teams feel like they're fighting for their life. Like, the Knicks feel like they're fighting for their life in the first round. Like there's pressure on the New York side, which is part of my little bit of optimism of going back to game 6. Like there's the Knicks are feeling it. Like that wasn't a team that was playing loose, that was playing like, okay, we still have this series in the bag. Like that was a team playing a little bit tight, a little bit desperate, and the Sixers won that one.
Well, I thought how they looked in overtime I thought was atrocious, and it felt like a Thibodeau special.
We can get to it. You want to talk about it? You want to talk about Jalen Brunson throwing up on himself? You want to talk about it because that was one of the worst end of game performances we've seen him have in a Knick uniform. It really was. It really was.
I mean, anytime you can get strapped by K9 and
by Nico Batum, because we know first team all defender Nico Batum on the wing. Yeah. Just
37-year-old Nico Batum just locking up Jalen Brunson.
Twice.
So I don't ever look at like the box scores. I feel like until after the game, or like they put Maxey's 46 and it's like, oh, that's ridiculous. So I looked at the box score. I can't believe he had 40 points. Like that's got to be the quietest 40 points I think I've ever seen. Did any other Knick touch the ball in overtime? Like, what was that?
It really was the end of the game. Tyrese Maxey and Jalen Brunson going tit for tat in every which way, whether it was getting to the line or making threes. Like it really was those two. And then Maxey hit clutch plays at the end, and Jalen Brunson turned the ball over. Like it was interesting to see how. Like Jalen Brunson had a lot of space on the floor, and for some reason just did not want to attack the rim, did not want to attack Nico Batum. And even if that pass was completed in the corner, my question is, what is Hartenstein doing with it in the corner? Right? What's the plan there?
Come on, man. Like, you don't think he's pulling up?
I don't know. Like it's so.
Yeah, they did it.
Our point guard over their point guard tonight.
Yeah, they did a really good job against a lot of the role players. Like Josh Hart didn't kill him. Like he still did some of the things.
DiVincenzo didn't even. They took DiVincenzo out of the game.
I think he had 6 points tonight. Like OG's been pretty good, but again, we've talked about it on the last couple of these podcasts, where it's almost like, and I think they made that switch in overtime, but for a majority of the game, it kind of seems like the big switch from games 1 and 2 through 3, 4, 5. Is they're letting Brunson get his, but they're shutting everyone else down, and they're rushing out to those guys, and they're cutting off like passing lanes, and they're saying, okay, like Jalen, like you can go score your 35 to 40 points, that's great, but we're not letting anyone else beat us, because that's what happened in the first couple of games of the series, where it's like Brunson's not really scoring a ton, but everyone else is killing them, everyone's into the game. And what happened in overtime is that they made the switch, put the taller guys, because in the last 3 games it's been more Maxey on him, it's been more Lowry on him, and he's been able to kind of feast. Tonight in overtime, they went back to the huge lineup, which was Toby, K9, and Batum, and it completely neutralized them. And the Knicks didn't really have an adjustment. They didn't have something else to go back to because they had played him a certain way the entire night. And for a great player, and for someone that I view as a killer, first off, I'm shocked he came up small. I was just waiting for Jalen Brunson's
we've seen him do it so many times, right? So you're
crazy. Like he came up small, and I think Nick Nurse gets credit for it. I think Embiid gets credit for it. For the defensive effort in overtime against Jalen Brunson.
Mm-hmm. I do want to get to Nick Nurse a little bit later too, but I think you make a lot of great points. One, it's the same thing we kind of criticize or we're afraid of with Tyrese Maxey, right? Like as a small guard, seeing all that length in the playoffs. We see it against Boston, saw it against Miami. So I think Nick Nurse finally realized like Jalen Brunson's a smaller guard too. Like while he is really crafty, is able to score in the lane, length is going to bother a smaller guard. So yes, that lineup of Nico Batum, Kelly Oubre, which by the way, K9 is that his new nick? Because you've been saying that real casual, real cavalier over there. And
Casual
like
K9
it. I like
Robs,
it. K9.
yeah.
I'll let it go.
Well, yeah, he considers himself a dog. He is the first name, obviously, with a K, and he wears number 9. So that's K9.
Did you start that, or where'd you get that from?
No, the Sixers Twitter account tweeted it out
there you go.
in overtime.
I bet you proper journalism. Give credit where it's due.
Hey,
but
I'm not a me guy. Not a me guy.
Exactly. It's for the team. But if that larger lineup absolutely gave Jalen Brunson fits. I mean, it gave all the Knicks fits. I mean, that turnover, I mean, they had 4 or 5 turnovers in the first quarter alone. And it didn't even allow them to get off to a good start. So that is Nick Nurse's doing. And
well, here's my take on the first half. I was driving home from the show, so I missed it. So I only saw everything in the second half. So that's the sphere I'm going through. So, what was your big first half takeaway? Because I didn't see it at all.
It was just that. Like the Sixers get off to a really hot start, and it was the tale of like 2 quarters of pace. Like the first quarter was the Sixers' pace. The second quarter was obviously in the Knicks' favor in terms of pace. The Knicks got on the boards. Started controlling things, and then the Sixers turned the ball over in the second quarter like the Knicks turned the ball over in the first quarter. So that's when that second quarter is really when you started to see Tyrese Maxey really start to struggle. That pace slowed down. Like I don't think the Sixers had 2 points for the first first half of the second quarter. They didn't score more than 2 points until like 6 minutes left to go in the second quarter. Like it was bad. It was a bad start to the second quarter. The Knicks kind of flipped it on their head. And then that's where Nick Nurse came into play. Like, I think the first big play that Nick Nurse made was like the focus in that second quarter went from the offensive end to the defensive end. It went from how do we like find gaps on the offensive end to let's create stops, let's create turnovers, and let's make life easier on the offensive end. And then when that happened, I think the floor opened up for Maxey. It got easier for Embiid. It got easier for guys like your boy K9, for Tobias Harris, who quiet 17, like
19.
Quiet 19. So Tobias did his thing, but yeah, that's how the first half went.
I'm glad you brought up Toby.
We had to at some point. We were dancing around it because
we're beating around the bush.
Yes, because Toby playing addresses another point that we'll get to inside of it. But your Toby point first.
Sure. So Toby, when they were losing, right, and it was I tweeted it, and credit to me, when I pressed send on the tweet, I said they're gonna come back and win. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but they're gonna come back and win. And when they were down, it was right before Maxey made the 4-point play. I was like, you know what? The silver lining in all of this is that this is the last time I have to watch Tobias in the Sixers uniform, which is great. And they can void the Paul Reed contract if they do not make the second round.
2 birds, 1 stone. Yeah.
Which is like, hey, let's look at the positive. But let me just say this. Toby, while I can't stand you, him making those free throws was maybe the most shocking free throw makes since Iguodala in 2012 versus the Bulls.
Yeah.
I mean, stepped up to the line, confident. If I could have bet, I would have bet on at least a split.
at least 1 out of 2.
At least a split. And he manned up, man. He did. Like Toby, in what could have been his last game as a Sixer, really went out on top.
I've seen a lot of toxic relationships in my life, man. This one is the most toxic. Like just when you're about to clean out his locker, kick him to the street, he has a 19-point game. And dude, it's not all pretty. Like he didn't have a 19-point game, and you come away from this game saying, "Wow, dude, like Tobias really helped us win that game."
He gets it, yeah.
Like no, that's still not the case. But they're a lot worse than 19. And Tobias playing the minutes he does. Like I found myself about, I think, midway through the second quarter when that pace slowed down, Maxey didn't have his shot, and Embiid was struggling. I even tweeted it. I said, the Sixers need spacing and shooting. Why is Buddy Hield not in the game? And then about midway through the third quarter, beginning of the fourth, I literally quote tweeted it and I was like, I've answered my own question. And the answer to the question is like in this type of series, in this type of physical defensive series, like Tobias Harris is more valuable than Buddy Hield is on the floor. I cannot believe I came to that realization. I cannot believe it's something
Big
that we
stuff.
all have to actually accept, but it is. Like what Tobias did tonight, Buddy Hield couldn't do. But he just could not. In that type of game, the willingness to stay in the paint, the willingness to fight for boards, the willingness to defend actively, stick your hand, like Buddy Hield's just not willing to do that. This isn't a game where we're gonna get 10 to 15 3-point attempts from Buddy Hield. It's just not gonna happen.
Well, it's clear they're saving Buddy for the Indiana series. Like they're.
I think they're going to use Buddy kind of how Miami uses Duncan Robinson. Like when it's a grinded out game, you're not going to see him. But if it's a game where each team is getting 30 plus 3-point attempts up, like we're going to put our shooter in, he's going to shoot. But it's not
another guy I want to give a shout out to, and I've grown to not like him. I think it's because James. I haven't bet on a basketball game in maybe 3 months.
I think I know who you're going to say.
Maybe 2 months. I probably haven't bet on a basketball game in a good amount of time. And I have not watched him in a regular season game just go right to the rim without passing the basketball and just having tunnel vision. But let me just say something. I'm enjoying campaign.
I knew you were going to go there. The campaign, I think we should get it going.
The campaign for campaign.
Yeah, I think we should get it going.
What I like about him is that in a game like that's tough, physical, annoying, someone's just got to be fearless. He'll shoot, man. Like at some point, I just want someone that'll shoot. Just give me someone that'll go out there that doesn't look afraid to be on the court at the Mecca in the Garden and all. It's gonna completely fall apart.
Dude, it's the real thing, man. The aura of it.
He made a couple big threes tonight, and shout out to him, man. Like. He's made these threes where it kind of feels like they're teetering, and it's like, are they going to fall apart? And he's made these kind of momentum threes that have either kept them in games or have extended leads for them. So he has been a really, really nice surprise in this Knicks series.
What do you say? Energy costs nothing. Like,
yep.
It's funny. He's a guy. If you ever go to a Sixers game a little early and watch right before pregame warmups or right before the starters get announced, you'll see Cam Payne literally just like running back and forth on the baseline, doing defensive shuffles, running up and down, jumping, touching the rim, like just endless energy. And I think we're kind of overlooking the part that he played in the whole don't let them push us around, don't let them get us down kind of mentality the Sixers have adopted through games like 3, 4, and 5. Like Cam Payne has got to be at the epicenter of that. Like it doesn't matter what is going on. Like there's a famous clip of him getting taunted by LeBron years and years ago because he's getting blown out by the Lakers, but he's still talking trash and he's still going crazy. Like that's who Cam Payne is. And like you need that. Like you need someone, like you said, who has fearless energy all the time, no matter what circumstance it is, he's going to give 100%. And Cam Payne does that. It helps when he's productive. Like it's annoying when he's not hitting shots and he's doing it. So you have to like hit shots and do it for it to be like really effective. But all he needs is like 2 or 3 threes to like put a stamp on a game, and that's like a good spot to be in for a third string point guard. It's a really good spot to be in.
So here's my big question. Here's my big question.
Big answer.
Big questions for big answers. That's what we're going for. We're obviously about a half hour into the pod, and I just like I can't tell what they're gonna do in Game 6. Like I can't tell what they're gonna do because I felt like they were gonna win tonight. I was actually surprised they were going to lose because it was like before the Maxey threes, they had a lead a little bit early.
I swore they were going to. I mean, they lose that game. We watched them lose that game in Game 2. Like we watched them lose. We watched them lose that game countless amount of times. Right?
Not this team. The full of heart Sixers are here.
New era.
And like, is this going to be one of those times where people have hope again, and then they go out and they like. I wouldn't be able to handle a no-show in Game 6. Like something where they don't come out, they don't play with any intensity, because it's just like games like tonight make you feel like they finally get it. But you know what sucks, and you know what hits me deep down, is that this is how I felt after Game 5 last year against the Celtics, where it's like
same
get it.
exact scenario too. Well, not same exact, because they
Not
had a
same
chance to
exact.
close out last year, right?
All they needed was one game to go
All
to
they
the
needed was
Eastern
one game
Conference
to close out.
Finals.
Which is okay. I'm going to be Mr. Optimism on this part. I feel like the Sixers don't have enough optimism around the organization, and there's a little optimism coming from me right now.
There should be.
Last year, there was okay, we just need one more mentality. That's what the Knicks have right now. We just need one more mentality. That's dangerous. I don't want to play the team that's fighting for their life constantly. The Sixers are fighting for their lives, not we just need one more to close out type mentality. So going into Game 6, before we get into the Sixers gameplay, I want to ask you, do you think the Sixers fans redeem themselves in Game 6? Because I mean, what stance do the Sixers fans take? Because there was a lot of, well, Embiid, why are you mad at us? You don't give us a reason to show up. Or is it, okay, we got you, big fella. You guys battled. You guys brought it back. We'll show up for you in Game 6. I don't like your initial reaction to that question. I'm trying to read
be
honest with you. That reaction did not create the optimism that I was looking for in this podcast.
Well, I'm trying to read the fan base that I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on. So there's a couple parts. So I don't know if Sixers fans are fully bought back in. I think they're happy. I think tonight was incredible, and I think Maxey grown up performance. I think they're still worried about Embiid, and I think that's fair given the injuries and stuff. Mm-hmm. The one caveat is, I mean, the way that Knicks fans have acted has been hilarious. I mean, from the standpoint of I can tell you haven't really done anything in almost 25 years. There's got to be a lot of nervous energy of a Knicks fan of like, are they going to blow this?
Yeah.
Like, are they going to, because I mean, the Knicks don't have, I mean, they have college winners, but it's not like they have a bunch of NBA winners.
Exactly.
So I wonder if they come down. I think they still have a large Knick presence, but I think it goes from pure cockiness to tight real quick. Like, I think that there's a fake confidence to the current Knick fan that they're going to come down here and the Knicks are just going to take care of business on the Sixers home court. So I still think there's going to be a good amount of Knicks fans. I don't know if the city's completely bought back in yet. If they win this series, come back from down 3-1, obviously they won't have to deal with Knicks fans in the Eastern Conference semis. But I think that everyone's back on board at that point.
That is tough. That's going to take a 3-1 comeback for everyone to get back on board. But I agree with you.
If Game 7 was here,
yeah, it'd be different.
It'd be a little different.
Sixers fans don't travel to the Garden for Game 7. It doesn't work the other way around.
Well, I don't know if you know this. Only rich people live in New York.
That's true.
No one has any money in Philadelphia.
They've been telling us that we as Philadelphians can't afford to go to the Garden by the ticket prices.
It's pretty remarkable how much they just look down upon us. Yes.
No, I can understand that. But to the gameplay, I actually think that the Sixers kind of start similar to how they started tonight. Like, I think it's going to be Embiid's not going to exert 100% of energy until later in the game, or he's going to pick his spots early. Maxey's going to have to set a tone early. And what I think is going to have to happen is, like, it's time for, like, Kelly Oubre to have a game in this series, or Kyle Lowry to have another game in this series.
And Lowry, I
disappointed
don't
tonight.
Scored a point.
Disappointed tonight. I mean, he had 5 fouls in like midway through the third quarter and without a point. It was bad. So those are the players that are going to need to have a big game in Game 6 for the Sixers, because they still have 2 more games. Like, I don't think we can bank on Maxey going for 45 for 2 straight more games, or Embiid having a triple double for 2 more games. Like, the game for Kyle Lowry to step up and Kelly Oubre to step up and the role players to step up. Hey, maybe Buddy Hield comes in and hits a couple of shots, but the home, for like, role players play better at home. So the role players are going to have to do a lot for the Sixers in Game 6. I think, for them to get a win.
Well, and I think tonight was at least a step in the right direction from that standpoint. Like Toby having the game that he had, obviously Maxey notwithstanding, but like, I mean, Oubre did have 14 points tonight. So I felt like the role players didn't totally crater when Embiid was kind of turning the ball over all the time and having a bit of a struggle sesh in the end of the third, beginning of the fourth. Like, I thought for the most part, they did their job, and you have to hope that can carry over. But the biggest thing for me tonight is I wonder if they can find a way. Like, can they just find a way to get him extra rest in the first half so the second halves don't look as brutal?
They tried. You saw Paul Reed.
Dude,
Paul Reed goes to the game, and even the announcers target Paul Reed. Like, it's like I almost wish the announcers, like Iron Eagle, wouldn't say anything, so like maybe no one notices.
Just sneak him on the court.
They like Paul Reed's in the game, and we know the Knicks are gonna immediately attack him, and then they immediately do it. It's like, all right, 2 minutes later, Embiid's right back at the scoring table. Like,
I had a whole thing planned for Morey had they lost tonight. Like, I was like, because
save it. It might still be relevant. Save it.
It could still be relevant. It still could be relevant because the Paul Reed thing is just atrocious. But one of the obvious big things tonight is like they just need Maxey to just it's your team. He's got
to win the series.
And when I say it's his team, like, I don't think he's the best player on the team. I think that's still Embiid. But like, for them to win, he's obviously compromised. He's obviously not 100%. Like, again, even if they lose, even if they end up losing this series, if Maxey goes 46 like he has tonight, and then can keep it competitive and have them in these next two games, like that just means a lot. Like, it just matters. Like, what Maxey did tonight matters, win or loss. Like I promise you, I'm a pretty authentic guy. Like, had they lost this game tonight, like, I don't think I would have came on here ripping and firing everyone and blowing the team up, because I thought what Maxey did mattered that much. And if he can do that in this game 6 and 7, if it can get to 7-6, they go down and it's just clear Embiid's not 100%. Like, I think now LeBron did tweet tonight. He tweeted about Tyrese Maxey. But if you're LeBron, if you're Paul George, it's like, if you see it, like, you can just see it.
You can see it.
You can see your path to a title if you do want to leave your current spot.
Yeah, it does like wonders for the optimism of moving forward for Sixers fans and the organization. It's got to. And if you're Embiid, like we talked about going into this series, like Maxey, in terms of a running mate and Embiid, where he stacked up to his previous running mates when it was James Harden in the playoffs, Jimmy Butler, Ben Simmons, wherever. Like, where is Maxey going to rank? And if he keeps playing like this, he's going to be number one. And if that's Embiid, like, that's so much optimism to be like, I've never had a player who could do this. Like, I don't know, like in this circumstance, back against the wall, like Tyrese Maxey essentially saves the season for the Sixers. Like, if you're Embiid, like that's got to be when I completely had like nothing to give or next to nothing to give. Like, this dude gives 46 and helps me out and saves the season.
Yeah, and maybe that's why he looks so extra into it in overtime.
Yeah,
like maybe that's why he was like, dude,
and Tyrese is doing it. I can do it.
If Tyrese can do it, I can do it. And I get stuck in such a tough position with Joel, because like I want him to win here. Like, I want him to win here. It's just there's been a lot of instances of like, dude, like you're hurting us in these big games, and I still don't really like trust him. I think he's a great player, but I don't think I really trust him. But I hope that tonight was one of those things like, dude, I got a real number two. Like, I don't have to do it all myself. I can lean on him and he can carry me and emphasize to Tyrese, you don't have to give me the ball all the time. I know I can dominate, but you can also go do your thing and don't pass me the ball at the end of the games. And like, if you think you can do it, then he can go do it. And that's why tonight was, they won. I'm happy, but the grown upness of what Tyrese Maxey did tonight is making me that much happier. So Elliot is on the plane. I guess he just landed or whatever.
Or whatever. Across the pond, international Elliot.
And I texted him. And I said, well, what's your big take? I'll read it on the podcast. So This is Elliot. Of course. Can't you just hear him saying this? Like, he could just,
go ahead. You're teeing this up great, but go ahead.
His hair is like perfectly coiffed. He takes 5 minutes to get on the stream because he has
he has the brightest blue of Union sweatshirt on as he gets off the plane.
With his little lead sign in the background from some soccer team. Just hear it. He said, that was the pass the torch game. It's Maxey's team. The days of building around Embiid are over. don't have to trade him, but every move now is for Maxey, not
Yeah.
Embiid.
So if there was ever a pump the brakes moment, that might be it. I mean,
Well, what is that like? Here's what I don't get. Like, what's that last line even mean? Like they're gonna get Paul. They're gonna go get Paul George because it's like
everything is
Maxey's,
yeah. No,
this is Maxey's player, not Embiid's player.
no. I love that he's kind of back on board. Actually, that makes me really wish that he was here so he could go on a 5-minute rant about that point, because that would be very entertaining to see.
Yeah.
I mean, it just shows how much belief that there is that Maxey can be like a real star and a real player in this league, that you would even consider building a team around him. Now, if I'm the Sixers, I mean, the build is still around Embiid. That we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. But it's very encouraging that the first block and the first unmovable piece next to Embiid can and should be Tyrese Maxey for sure.
More pressure on them in Game 6, Knicks or Sixers?
I think Knicks.
So I agree, but but the Sixers just can't no-show. Like
they can't no-show. No. But they haven't no-showed for a whole game in this series. They kind of got the win taken out of them. They no-showed in spurts. But
what makes it so frustrating, man, is that like every single one of these games has been coin flip. And like if dude, imagine if they get the timeout in Game 2, how much different we feel. You know, like
imagine if they box out in Game 2, even if they don't get the timeout. Like I mean,
like it's been such a neck and neck series, and I mean, there's a lot of pressure on the Sixers though too, of like, don't let this goodwill that you build up after, because we're so far past winning playoff games, and again, it doesn't feel like the first round. Like this feels like an Eastern Conference Finals. It really does. Like I don't know how else to explain it.
It really does.
But the pressure of don't do the same old Sixers crap. Like just prove to me you're different. Like they can lose Game 6. I mean, Embiid being compromised, we get it. Like they could lose Game 6. It can't be in no-show territory. It can't be Game 7 in Boston. It has to be go down, flip a coin, another close game late. And I think the city lives with it. I think they really do. Because even had they lost tonight, I think it was one of those you live with it kind of losses, and you just know it's not your kind of year. Before we get out of here, any final thoughts on the game? I didn't really have. Only thing I had left was like, it was only if they lost, and that was Maxey missed like 3 free throws that were.
Yeah, I mean, they 3 in a row too. It was. I was like, what's going on? This is terrible. I was like watching it collapse, but then Jalen Brunson turned it over twice and he evened it out. I think the only big thing is where Elliot and I were on with Danny Green, and Danny Green said that Nick Nurse could sometimes be used as a weapon in the playoff. Elliot's favorite line to rephrase. But it became true tonight. Like I think we saw the first time Nick Nurse actually be a game changer in one of these games in the series. I mean, the adjustment that he did really defensive mindedly in the second quarter, and then completely going to the zone in the second half, and then the decision to lean completely into Tobias Harris and not play Buddy Hield. Like that's a bold move. Like as a coach, being in the Philadelphia media, like you hear the chatter, like you hear the noise. Like you understand that people are not happy with Tobias Harris and his production hasn't been good. But to understand like your game plan, to understand what you want to do, want to execute, and know your personnel and know which player is going to be suitable for that and which not to, and have the gut to like carry that out, like that was big for Nick Nurse. Like I think that was something that Sixers fans should really like be happy about and really recognize that. I think a big reason that they lose this game last year and years past is because like Doc Rivers doesn't do that. Like Doc Rivers doesn't make those changes. Doc Rivers doesn't come out of his ways. Doc Rivers doesn't like adjust on the fly like that twice mid-game and be able to do that. So that was the Nick Nurse is a weapon game for me. Like that's what I saw.
And my final takeaway here or final thought on tonight is that I know the city of New York. And I know that you're letting your little head hit the pillow tonight, and you're thinking, "Listen, Nova, these guys are winners.
Built to win.
They know how to close out a series. I don't have any fear." Deep down in your gut, I know you know.
Quiver. It's a little quiver. There's a little quiver.
I know you know they can blow this. I know you know
Sure.
that they can blow
Dude,
this.
you want to talk about pressure? Imagine having all the players who built the quote unquote world's most famous arena in the Mecca. They're all sitting there, right? The Mellos, the Oakleys, the Ewings, the Starks, they're all watching her. We got one. They got Allen Iverson and Dr. J sometimes when he's not busy. He
And now
comes
Don
through.
Staley.
And Don Staley showing up after an undefeated season. But they got all their ancestors are there watching them. Like there's a lot of pressure. All the celebrities there. Like
all I want to know is where's Pablo Prigioni? Where's Pablo Prigioni? Like he should be there.
No Steve Novak coincide.
Dude, if I could model my game after one player, it was Steve Novak.
You want to talk about one player who I would kill you with in 2K who you'd never suspect? Yeah, don't let me get hot with Steve Novak.
I was, dude, on the in 2012 2K12 with the Knicks with like J.R. Smith, Melo.
Oh yeah, very good team. Yeah.
J Kidd running point guard. I love the 2012 Knicks, man. They were my basketball team.
Good time.
But yeah, like the Knicks royalty is out. I'm just saying. Don't let the Sixers win Game 6. Don't let
them go one more.
Don't let this get to a Game 7 in the Garden where everything gets tight. Your little slow point guard that can't get around anyone all of a sudden starts missing shots. Don't let that happen, James. Don't let that happen, James Jackson. Don't let that happen. If it does, we'll be back to react to it all. Maybe the turnaround of the century is because Ellie Shore Parks is currently.
He might have to take another. When does he come back? When does he come back from
I
London?
gotta text him because I'm not sure.
He might have to fly to somewhere again.
I wonder if he definitely did not bring headphones, but whatever. It's all good. Either way, you'll be here, which is perfectly fine as well. So great job tonight, buddy. I appreciate you stepping in and finally bringing some real basketball knowledge to this podcast, which is good.
James Jackson, Tyrese Maxey, stepping up when needed.
Hey, everyone needs their role players to step up. For James Jackson, I'm Jack Fritz. This has been another edition of Clap Your Hands.